Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very accomplished lady, Srividya Nagaraju. Srividya, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Srividya is a learning facilitator. She's an Indic wisdom enthusiast. She has spoken for the International TEDx, and she's a guest faculty at IIM Bangalore. So, Srividya, let's talk about learning and development. What is a learning facilitator?
At early, the teaching is done. Teaching is one level where the teacher is completely responsible for learning of the student. That is at the academic. Then you come to corporate world or your job level, people will say training programs, where you attend training programs. So the learner has more responsibility compared to the trainer. Then next level is facilitator, where we only facilitate learning. We don't teach, nor we, it's not knowledge downloading. It's complete facilitation where we don't even say what they're supposed to learn.
Okay.
And excuse me. So it's a complete facilitation where learner learns what they want to learn. We only bring that experience, the situation, so that they get to learn what they want to learn. I mean, obviously, it's not like completely open-ended. We have an agenda-driven, but the real learning comes from the participants. So we need to facilitate that.
Okay.
I think we all believe current market needs more facilitator than providers.
Very interesting. So can you give, for our viewers and listeners, can you give some examples or anecdotes of some of the work you're doing?
Examples, like I've been facilitating, I cover all people skills and behavior, be it communication, negotiation, presentation skills, all the way leadership. And leadership has multiple facets of leadership. So it's up to the individual, like I conduct an activity or I present a story, I present a situation, and then I leave it to the audience to actually tell me what they have learned from it. So that's the actual process of facilitation.
Okay. But can you give me an example of, say, when you're working with a group of people, without names, of course, what is the kind of an exercise you may have done?
Okay. Let's say we talk about thinking big. Okay. We all know theoretically what it means to be thinking big. But are we really thinking big is a question. So I do an activity, I take a Post-it. We know what simple Post-it is. Right? And I ask them to write their name on it. Okay. And then I say, go and stick it as high as you can. So normally people end up sticking here or, whatever little then. When I say, if you can use your resources, is this the maximum? Second time, then they'll say, okay, they use a chair or a stool or a table and stick it to the, roof, or they go out, run up to their terrace and, so very creatively they come back. Then they say, yeah, we actually don't think big. We limit ourselves. So that is what you bring in through experience. I believe in experiential learning.
Very interesting. So let's talk about, how you draw your learnings from the ancient Indian scriptures. First, tell me, what got you so interested in the Indian scriptures?
I think it was there for me from my childhood. I was quite exposed to philosophy from my childhood. It was a part of my family upbringing. But later, I didn't pay attention to it. Over the years, when I came to this people development, I was thinking, what is it I can do differently? We have so many trainers and facilitators, mentors in the industry. So what is my own, uniqueness I can present? And this had a lot of influence. It was going on, and that is where I started bringing in the stories what we have grown up with. In childhood, all of us have grown up with listening to so many stories. So from that, how can I connect back to today's life, management and leadership? And the feedback what I get is they're able to connect both at emotionally, because, you've grown up with those stories from the childhood. Like Hanuman has been very fascinating personality for all of us.
Correct.
And today you bring in the lessons learning from that. So you connect at emotional level, of course, intelligent level, because I bring in all the frameworks. So the Eastern and West from the East and the West is what I do.
So, when I was reading about you, there are three very interesting programs you run, and they're all linked to, our learnings from ancient India. Let's start with your 7-star leadership program, where you draw upon the learnings from the Saptarishis. First, tell me, who are the Saptarishis for a lot of our young viewers and listeners, and then tell me about your program and what you draw from it.
Okay. See, this started when I had to do some different leadership approach. I mean, there have been so many leadership approaches and all of them are good. No doubt about it. But I needed to do something totally different. Is where, I try and then this, I grew up with this very fascinating story of Vishwamitra and Vasishta, the rishis.
Correct.
Okay, I've grown up with listening to their stories and I found them very, very amazing, especially Vishwamitra on the leadership and Vasishta as a very deep person. Very fascinating. But I could connect. I said, what made them to become a star in the sky? So it is Saptarishis, you say Saptarishi Mandala in the sky, that is the
7 stars.
7 stars. So they have the stars in the sky, while so many rishis are there, why only these became? So that was my interest, to go and dig into their stories more, from a leadership perspective, while I was fascinated as a young adult. But now looking back, then I could draw a lot of these management and leadership lessons, saying, oh, this is what they did. Transformational leadership. Vishwamitra if we all know, Vishwamitra was a king earlier, Kaushika. So it's complete transformational leadership from Kaushika to Vishwamitra. From, interesting one, I want to bring in learning here.
Sure. While
Kaushika as a king, he got defeated by Vasishta Rishi. A king, he was an emperor, great king. He was not an ordinary king. He could defeat everyone. He was always a winner. And he got defeated by this saint. He couldn't take it. So he wanted to, initially trying to compete with him. He tried to compete, saying, go back and, pick up new technology, new skills, come back again, fight. And 3 times he did. Then he realized, oh, there is something bigger than all this. So he made the competitor a role model. And he said, I want to become another Vasishta.
Okay.
Look at this, how if you can look at your competition as a role model from learning from it. So this is what my effort to bring in these learnings. Stories are always there.
I know. And tell me, you spoke of Rishi Vashisht, but tell me one or two more.
Then you have Bharadwaj, you have Arundhati as a women leader, our diversity.
Tell me some examples of how you introduce Arundhati's.
She's also a smaller star along with Vasishta in that in the sky. The Big Dipper, you want to call it, or the Saptarishi Mandala. She's also there, and they are the role model for an ideal couple.
Okay.
And she had learned everything. So she was like, if I have to talk in corporate world, she was the successor or second in line. So when once the Kaushika king was trying to again come back and attack, Vasishta was on tour. He was not in station. So she was managing it. And with what that Brahmadanda, that what they rishis keep in their hand, that wooden staff. So
Kundala.
No, not the Kundala. It's that T-shaped kind of. Okay. So it's that wooden. So from that, she could defeat Kaushika. So she's so powerful. You see the women power, what we call today, there was nothing less. The roles were very clear based on what. So she is a complete scholar. She knew everything.
Wow.
So very ideal, role model for us to emulate.
Fascinating.
And today we talk about all the diversity and inclusion. So, now today one woman is a mandatory part of board. So, and this Saptarishi Mandala, if I have to connect to today's world, they were the board who were advising or supporting to run the universe.
Amazing.
So, and you have a women leader there. What else you want?
Correct. Well said. Very well said. And I'm amazed at how you have drawn such amazing parallels, out of this. Fantastic. So let's talk about your next program, which is the Ashtasiddhis, where you have taken learnings from Hanuman.
Right.
first tell me, what are the Ashtasiddhis? And then let's talk about the learnings.
So Ashtasiddhis, Hanuman is one of those very few who had these superpowers. Sometimes you can't get an exact translation in English, but Siddhi is a superpower. It doesn't come easily. You have to do a deep sadhana on that. So he had this super 8 powers, if I can use that word, Siddhis, which is called Anima, Mahima, Garima, Ladima, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishitva, Vashitva. So he had you've heard in the stories, right? When he had to cross the ocean, finally, he stood in front of the ocean and he looked at it. Was water everywhere. And he looked at himself. I'm small, this is big. What do I need to do? You've heard, right? What did he do?
Increased his size.
He became big.
Correct.
He expanded. Right? So that is called Mahima. He could expand as big as he wanted. Today, I don't think you and I want to become big physically, but can we expand our thought process? Can we expand our competencies? Can we expand our, think big beyond whatever we call it, thinking wide? All that is what I draw this. So when you have a bigger challenge to face and you are not competent enough, you don't have to say, oh, I'm not competent. All I have to do is increase my competency, expand my competency. And then I grow big. Then I'm sure I can cross the ocean too, like Hanuman did. So Anima means small. So there was a point where he had to hide himself. So he became so small that he could hide himself behind the leaf.
Correct.
Right? Correct. You know the story. So can we be simple, humble, when to keep quiet? So there are so many like this. I can go on,
I know,
deeper, but yes, that's how I've created this model.
And what would the lesson be from Hanuman himself?
Oh, there are so many. There are so many, And the other 8 powers.
For my family, Hanuman is our god.
Is your whatever favorite deity, if I can call it.
Correct.
So all these powers he has, and there's another. I'm sure there is a shloka which you might be chanting, that Buddhir balam yasho dhairyam nirbhayatvam arogata ajadyam vakpatutvancha hanumat smaranad bhavi. So there is again another set of 8 powers. With intelligence, your knowledge, your wisdom, balam, you need to have the strength, and then all the way there are another 8 powers. So there is so much to learn. He's one who's so calm, so composed, always ready to serve. We call it servant leadership today. And he can think out of the box and go that extra mile. When he went to pick up that Sanjeevani plant, he couldn't identify. Someone else would come back and say, boss, I couldn't find it. He didn't do that. This is what is not. Think that extra mile.
Thinking outside the box and
think that extra mile. So he took that ownership and accountability. He said, oh, I can't find the plant. So what? I'll carry the whole mountain. I mean, so much for us to learn from management, leadership, or life,
Very fascinating.
We can always find excuses not to do things, or we can. That's, I think, again, a very good example for ownership.
Fascinating. And your third one, which is Nayati. And, that, of course, you are linking to coaching and mentoring.
Right.
But what are you drawing from old Indian wisdom for Nayati?
Right. Nayati means the path, the guiding.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have in Sanskrit, like any other language, we have nyayas. In English, we call them maxims. Okay, there are numerous nyayas in Sanskrit. One of the most common, I'm sure all of us have heard, you say, don't be a frog in a well. So that is called Kupa Manduka Nyaya in Sanskrit. So like this, they're all Laukika Nyayas, guiding principles for life. One of the most challenging, with my study in the corporate world, I saw while mentoring, coaching is there in the many organizations, but it's not been very successful. Very few organizations have been successful. So I did a study, why is it not? So on one side, for example, mentee is waiting, saying, oh, my mentor must be busy. How will I disturb him? On the other side, mentor is waiting, saying, let the mentee come to me. So both of them are waiting. So there is a nyaya for both. Okay. One is called Markata Kishora Nyaya and Marjala Kishora Nyaya. So Marjala means a cat.
Okay.
You see how a cat carries its baby. It carries in its mouth, right?
Yeah.
So the baby doesn't have much to do. It just have to trust the parent and relax. So who's got the ownership? The mother or the parent. Okay, that's one kind of mentorship where mentor takes the ownership of guiding the mentee. Another one is Markata Kishoranya. In monkeys, what is the baby holds the mother. Correct. So who's more responsible?
The baby.
The baby. Well, mother is aware that I have a baby here, but the primary ownership is with the baby. Amazing. So that's where mentee has to take ownership and follow up with the mentor. So it's not which is right or which is wrong, but the clarity between the mentor and mentee, which approach are we following?
Oh, fabulous. Very interesting.
An example, one of my mentors, we followed 2 different approaches for 2 different aspects. Same mentors, same mentee. In one aspect, he takes care of scheduling the meeting to do everything. Another aspect, I do that. I take ownership. But we are clear about it, so there is no challenges.
Amazing. Amazing. So let's move on. I've got one more question relating to this before I move to a different segment of our conversation. You must be working with a lot of the young people, millennials and the Gen Zs.
Right.
How are they accepting this methodology of drawing upon lessons from scriptures? I mean, I'm not sure how many of them are, and I could be completely wrong, how many of them are really aware of the incredible heritage that we carry with us.
In fact, my first program, can you believe it or not, was for MBA students. They gave me a topic saying management from mythology. So I don't use the word mythology,
Correct.
Different people approach it different way, but yes, that is what my first program where I took off Hanuman as an example. And another one I do is, especially problem solving and conflict management. I show Vali Vada from Ramayana, you remember, right? Rama killed Vali. And there's so much of controversy saying who's right, who's wrong there. So I play the video. I played the video and I was very fascinated how these youngsters could come up with their own interpretation of the situation from whatever they knew. And then finally, I told them the real story, the fact base. So how do we need to take a decision? Conflict is, we need to consider all the facts, not just few. That's where the perception could go wrong. And their response was amazing.
Okay.
I think the approach matters here. If I talk completely from a religious, then people don't accept it. Where my approach is just learning.
Correct.
How does it matter from where we learn? We can learn from anywhere, and that's what India believes in.
Absolutely right. Absolutely well said. So, Srividya, let's now move to a few questions, which take you away from learning and development, but to you personally. What would you say are 3 key milestones or pivot points in your life or your career?
Yes, this is one of my things which I normally share with youth more often, is that, I had failed in my 12th grade.
Okay.
A couple of times. I'd taken science. So science and me couldn't get along well, if I can say it in that way. I had failed. But the message I want to convey through that, today, I have 2 master degrees. I am an alumna of IIM Bangalore, guest faculty, so on and so forth. So the message here, I might have failed in an event or a situation, but I am not a failure.
Correct.
I think that is the message I convey to youth through this, my own life experience. If I had given up saying, if I can't pass 12th grade, what can I do in life? I said, I can't handle science. So thanks to my family, they supported me to shift to, computers back then it was called. So I did fairly well then, and I ended up in financial services. From financial services, now I am in people development. So this is also my second, I would say, big milestone from working with various streams of life or profession. And finally, now from corporate to the entrepreneurship.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
The third milestone is when I was invited, direct invitation to speak on a prestigious platform, TEDx. That too in US, Colorado, talking on power of Indian women. I think that's another big milestone.
Fabulous.
I'll have many other, but I'll stick to 3.
Wonderful. So, for someone who's done such a diverse set of things and done them so successfully, what are some of the core values you believe in?
I realized first my core value is commitment. For me, that's very important. Whatever I commit to, whether it is commercial, non-commercial, anything. For example, I've been working as a volunteer counselor for last 20 years consistently. Or anything. Commitment is my first core value. Second is honesty. What I believe in. Third core value is learning and teaching.
Okay.
Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. I learned it from my father at a young age. Learning and teaching, you should never give up.
Okay. Well said. Well said. And, as from where you stand today, as you look back at your life and there's so much more ahead, what does success mean to Srividya as of today?
I think for me, success is not giving up on anything. Continuing our efforts, no matter when I get the results. Sometimes we don't get the results immediately or later. So for me, my success is when I can continue to keep on putting in my efforts and receive whatever the results whenever it comes. That is success for me.
Amazing. I have time for 2 more questions. So my next question is on who or what inspires you. And you did mention that you've met President Abdul Kalam twice, and I'm sure he must be a tremendous source of inspiration for you.
Yes.
As he is for the whole country.
Absolutely. I have met him 10 times.
10 times. Wow.
I've had even one-to-one half-an-hour discussion and all that. So what have inspired me is the simplicity, what he practices. He does not preach, but practices. The second one I have picked up from him is the power of appreciation. He appreciates every small thing he observes around. And I've been a great privilege that I have been appreciated by him. It doesn't matter what I have done, but receiving from a great man like him is, I think these are the 2 qualities. That's why now I have created a module on appreciation called Appreciation Helps Appreciation. Aha.
Wow. And my last question to you, and this is for all the young people who will be listening to our conversation. What would your advice be to a young individual who is starting off life as working either as an entrepreneur or as a manager in a professional world? What would you advise her or him in life's journey?
Simple is, I think, one of the study again I've done why some people are not highly successful while they're equally smart, intelligent, etc. is that I think we all hesitate to express ourselves because we want to impress everyone.
Correct.
So that creates a lot of pressure and tension. And that hesitation we need to give up. So my quote is that we are not here to impress anyone. But we are here to express ourselves, be it asking a question, sharing an idea, seeking for help or offering an help. All these are form of expressions. If we can do that, pick up every opportunity, go express yourself. And that reminds me a quote from Swami Vivekananda. He says, stand up and express the divinity within you. I think if we can believe that and express ourselves, the growth is going to be faster.
Amazing. Amazing. Srividya, what a fascinating conversation this has been. I mean, I'm so amazed. I've learned so many new things, even including about our own scriptures. And I thought I had a reasonable understanding of our scriptures, but I've learned so many new things from you today. Thank you again for all that you said, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh ji. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to The Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for The Brand Called You.